Alright, so there were a lot of films from last year that I wasn't able to review yet, so I thought I would make this video covering some of them, which are Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Hotel Transylvania 4, and Paws of Fury The Legend of Hank. Let's just get started with Sonic 2 first. So I watched Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in theaters last April, and to be honest, I thoroughly enjoyed it. For context, I am not attached to the Sonic games or media at all, and I thought the first Sonic film was fine, but I didn't think it was great or anything. And this was, in my opinion, a decent step up from the first film. This definitely feels more like a Sonic film with more of the game elements added into it, unlike the first film, which felt more like a generic kids road trip movie, where a CGI creature from a different planet or dimension comes into the human world and they meet a human. That was one of my main problems with the first Sonic movie. Anyways, I really like how they crank up the video game aspect in this movie, and it makes the entire experience more fun. There are lots of references to the games, which even if I'm not a huge Sonic fan, I still thought they were cool. The characters were really charming, especially Sonic. Of course, Knuckles and Tails were also great additions to this movie, and they have some really wholesome and fun interactions with each other and also with Sonic. I felt like they were trying to make Knuckles like Drax from the MCU, where they take everything way too literally, and that works. Jim Carrey was great as Dr. Robotnik, and he has the best performance in the entire film. He's just a lot of fun and super charismatic. Jim Carrey said in an interview that he plans to retire from acting very soon and that Sonic 2 would probably be his last film, which I hope isn't true, since he carries a lot of this franchise and he was perfectly casted. I really enjoyed most of the action sequences, especially the final battle where Dr. Robotnik turns into a giant robot, and Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles have to team up together to stop him. The jokes and visuals were pretty good, and I liked the faster paced adventure. I have some problems with this film, like the humans don't really do anything for the first half of the film, which I like since that would make more room for Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. But like halfway through the movie, the team just crashed into a random wedding that the humans are attending, and the pacing just stalls for so long, and it just felt so random and out of place. It felt like an entirely different movie, so that was weird. And this, along with some other drawn out sequences, made me feel like this movie was a little bit too long. The human characters are pretty boring and don't do anything to the story, but I still really like the post-credits scene, and I would really like to see a third movie in this franchise, as long as Jim Carrey is still on and doesn't retire. I would love to see more of these characters in this world. This movie is just a fun time, not anything amazing, but still an entertaining watch, and well worth your time if you like fun kid action adventure movies. A marginal step up from the first film, and I'm giving Sonic the Hedgehog 2 a solid 7 out of 10. I also watched the new Hotel Transylvania movie, Hotel Transylvania Transformania, that I almost forgot about since it was released on Amazon Prime at the very beginning of last year, and there was like no marketing or talk about it. For context, I actually have a soft spot for the first 3 Hotel Transylvania movies. They had some charming and fun elements, and I wouldn't mind watching them even if they aren't anything amazing. People like to trash the first 3 movies, but I actually kinda like them. So I had at least some excitement for this film, and after watching this movie, I was very underwhelmed and disappointed. This movie is not good and easily the worst out of the franchise. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but I just did not get anything out of this experience, and it was very boring. For the 100th time, they make the conflict surrounding Dracula not trusting Johnny and having to bond with him throughout the runtime, which was really annoying and repetitive. The whole story is that Dracula doesn't want to give the hotel to Johnny because he's afraid that he's gonna mess it up. Dracula just seems like he didn't grow throughout the previous films. The story is really bland and unengaging. The concept of Johnny turning into a monster and Dracula turning into a human was kinda interesting, but I didn't like the execution of said concept. They make Johnny and Dracula travel through a jungle for like 30 minutes to find this crystal, which was really lame and boring. The side characters also turn into humans, but they don't do anything in the story and they are not funny. Mavis is also not that interesting in this movie. The animation is fine, but it felt too cartoonish and slapsticky in some scenes, especially some of the character designs. I didn't remember laughing at any jokes, and there's a stupid cliche lie reveal scene. On a positive note, Adam Sandler didn't reprise his role as Dracula, which was really surprising since I thought that the voice actor that subbed for him did a great impression of him, and I couldn't tell that he wasn't actually there. Overall, Hotel Transylvania Transformania loses most of the charm of the original trilogy, leaving this boring, lifeless, and generic kids movie. I didn't like it. It's easily the worst out of the franchise, and I'm giving Hotel Transylvania Transformania a 3.5 out of 10. And the last movie I'm gonna be talking about is Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank. This movie bombed at the box office, and people have been trashing this movie ever since it came out. And the trailers didn't exactly make me excited for it, so I had no expectations when watching this film. And I didn't think it was that terrible, but I mean, I still wouldn't say it's good. It has at least some passable elements that makes it feel like not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's still not very good. I thought the animation is decent. It's cartoonish and filled with slapstick, but it could have been worse. The fights are decent too. I like how some of them are shot, and I laughed at some of the jokes. But this movie just doesn't feel like it has a soul or any heart behind it. This movie feels like it's trying to copy Kung Fu Panda, except without any of the charm or passion behind it. It's artificial and generic and not anything special. There are lots of big name actors voicing these characters, but they don't feel like they're doing that much. They use the main character wants to be something special, so they train under a mentor trope, but they don't do anything interesting or special with it. This movie is very comedic driven, and I guess some jokes work, but other jokes are just bad and cringe. There's lots of dumb slapstick and potty humor. They also try to be self-aware, but it's not witty or funny. There's also a main character breakup scene near the end of the second act, but it doesn't matter since they get back together in like 5 minutes. Actually, most of the emotional sequences don't work at all. Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank is not a good film. It has decent animation and fights, and I laughed a couple of times, but everything just feels so artificial. Like there was no heart or soul behind this film. The story is generic, the characters are boring, a lot of the jokes suck, and it doesn't really do anything to distinguish itself from other action kids movie. It's not anything special, and I'm giving Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank a 4 out of 10. So that was my quick thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Hotel Transylvania 4, and Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank. I might do another one of these videos just going back and covering films in 2022 that I haven't previously reviewed yet, so if this video does well, I might do that. So yeah, thanks for watching and bye.